Okay, so today we are going to again review our our date, our greeting, and our closing. Um, some of us did really well and some of us didn't, so I want you to make sure again that you pay close attention to those capital letters and especially where those commas are. All right, so here was our letter from yesterday, and where we talked about the date, the greeting, the body of the letter. Remember, the date tells you when you're writing it, the greeting says hi, and this is who I'm talking to. The body tells us the information you want to share, whether it's happy news or sad news or questions that you have for them, all different kinds of things that you could write in there. Maybe you want to tell them a poem. Maybe you want to write for them, I don't know, how much you love them or you can't wait to see them. All the different things that you can think of, this is where you write those thoughts. And then your closing is kind of like that hug at the end of a visit with that comma there saying, hey, we're done. And then your signature where they're writing your name. Okay, so we're going to practice that again today. We're going to put this over here. Okay. All right, so I have my lined paper for today. And remember, we have our red line. I'm just drawing it on there, but on your paper, your red line will be there. All right, on your notebook paper. Remember, I usually put a little mark here, shows me kind of where the halfway is, and then I'm going to write. So I'm going to write my date again. We have that white spot up here at the top. This is kind of right here in the middle of my date, so I'm going to scoot over just a little bit. I'm going to also write underneath it if I need to, but it would be May. Remember, I need to put a comma between all the numbers, right? Between the date and the year. So May 12th, 2000. I'm going to write it a little low under there because it's underneath that hole. Then I would leave a space all the way over. I'm going to write dear, and then you're going to write who it is, okay? So I'm going to say, dear Mrs. Michaels, okay? And I put a comma there, showing that's my greeting. Now, I wrote Dear Mrs. Michaels because last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and I couldn't let the week go by without sending one of my very favorite teachers a letter. I had so many teachers that I absolutely loved. I loved Mrs. Michaels. She was awesome. She was my first grade teacher. And I loved Mrs. Watkins, who was my second grade teacher. And I loved my fourth grade teacher, who was so awesome. She always had this couple great things she would say. One of her favorite words to say was good gravy-itis, which was kind of crazy, and I don't even know where she got that, but she made it up, and I thought it was funny. I loved the way they talked to people and they listened to us as kids. And then, of course, I had one of my very favorite teachers. He's now passed away, but his name was Mr. Burks. And Mr. Burks was very fun. He was my government and my economics teacher. They was a lot of fun. And of course, I had my dad and my mom in there, so they were a lot of fun as well. But Mrs. Michaels was my first grade teacher, so this is a letter that I wrote to her. So, dear Mrs. Michaels, and then I skip a line. I put my three-finger indent, and I would write, I wanted to take a moment to visit and share how much you meant to me. Okay? So I have that. Now, share how much you meant to me. I loved singing in class, using the counting bears, because when I was little, in first grade, the teacher gave us 10 counting bears to keep on our desks because we were learning addition and subtraction. Just like you have the touch points on your desk, Remember we always put those underneath our name tags, and you could pull those out anytime. My teacher gave us counting bears because in first grade, if you remember all the way back from first grade, you definitely had to have something to count. So in first grade, when I taught first grade, we used counting bears, we used cubes, we would use anything I could get a hold of the kids thought were fun. We even used balls of Play-Doh so they could, as they counted them, they smashed them out. So anything that you can think of to use, or what your teachers use, are that's one of the things that we used in class, and that I loved, all those math manipulatives. So I love singing in class, using counting bears, and learning to read. You made class so much fun. Oops, I wrote 4. So much fun for me in first grade. I couldn't wait to go home and tell my mom what we did. Oops. Every day. My dolls, boys, you might not understand, but girls, you understand. When you were little, maybe even now, some that you talk to your dolls or your stuffed animals. My dolls and animals learned to. I would always go home and teach my dolls and my animals exactly what my teacher taught me that day. So really and truly, that was another way she helped me learn, because I was so excited and I loved her. I would teach my animals, and you know what? If you can teach it or explain it to somebody, then you know it more than if you just learned it yourself once and didn't have to talk about it and explain it. That's why we always have to explain our thinking. All right, so I continued on with my letter. I'm going to stop for today based on our time. But when I got done, I went over. Now remember, I have that dotted line. So kind of underneath the date, I would skip a line and I would write my closing. And I wrote yours truly. Remember, I have that capital letter here with my comma at the end, yours truly. And then I signed my name, Jenny Gross. All right. So writing a letter. Keep working on your date, but especially your greetings and your closings. All right. This will all come because I know you can all write a paragraph. You can write topic sentences, and you can write details to go with them. We've done that all year long. And the only thing new is making sure you have that indent, which we've talked about before, and then working on the date, the greeting, the closing, and signing your name. So basically looking at the format. All right? Okay, I hope you have a great day. Remember that you are going to continue practicing on your greetings and your closings today on IXL.